Well, hello and welcome and hello. Thank you for joining me on this very, very special late night edition of Un Poco Mas, the show where we give you just that little bit more. It's me. It is little Danny Cornbread DiCarlo. I'll tell you how I got the name. It's a fun story. Of course, I was crab fishing on the Bering Sea with my good friend Deadliest Catch Chris. And the problem is, I'm just not good under pressure. And they'd say, "You crumble under pressure like cornbread." And from then on, they used to call me Little Danny Cornbread DiCarlo. Of course, as you know, DiCarlo was my godmother's name. I was actually raised in a convent. My godmother ended up becoming a nun. It's a long, long story, but it explains a lot of my various personality disorders and just gives you a little insight into what makes me tick, as if you really wanted that. But anyway, we're not here to talk about my many psychological problems. We're here to, of course, discuss Nio, ticker symbol NIO, and it is, of course, un poco mas. You never know by watching the show, but we are here to give you just that little bit more. The intangibles, guys. That's what we're trying to bring you. The type of indecipherable psychobabble you can only get here that would leave lesser U-turners just scratching their heads in disbelief. Like, you guys know what that fat guy's talking about? It's like, not really. All right. Anyway, so we want to talk about Nio, ticker symbol NIO. Obviously, stock made a little run, was hit hard. If you take a look at this daily, guys, I mean, it's just a flat line. There was some big orders coming in, but the algo was absolutely working overtime. I know a lot of you pikers, degenerates, Lester Diamond style country club golf hustlers want a look at the live short interest. So I'll just feed your monkey right now. Okay, they returned 10 million shares yesterday, with another 8 million shares today. Cost to borrow is pretty average there, right around 3%, pretty much what you'd expect. But remember, even returning 18 million shares, guys, they have been borrowing the bejesus out of this stock, almost 400 million shares on loan. And let's not be distracted and keep our eye on the prize. At the actual short interest, the shares sold short have also been creeping up recently. So it's one of those things, kind of like I said with SoFi, I was like, why do they keep shorting this thing from the 4s or 5? It doesn't make any sense. The fundamentals are very strong. The growth is strong. It's undervalued. It's like the narratives they're putting together just don't make sense. Now, with Nio, there was some more fair criticism. There's a lot more competition for what they do, and it's a lot harder for them to take market share at first glance. But if you get into it, I'm telling you, the Chinese government is in the bag for Nio. Nio makes sense in, places where EVs getting started, less developed countries, places where, maybe the transportation, the oil, gasoline infrastructure, even electric infrastructure is not as strong. What do I mean? Okay, if you really start to think about it conceptually, you start to think about like Tesla megapacks and power walls, and you start to think about how EVs like the Ford Lightning, can run your house in a power outage. Basically, an EV is a huge giant battery with a computer and some other, plastic and rubber and metal thrown in just to kind of hold the computer and the battery together and hold your big fat ass in the seat. So you have to stop thinking about it just as a car. I mean, William Li, that's another thing I want to talk about. Who is this fucking guy? Okay? Who is this fucking guy? Who is this guy? I mean, you saw him give a speech. I was listening to Mr. P's video. If you guys know Mr. P, he's that guy. He's just surprised all the time. He's just like, like whatever it is. He has the best surprised face on YouTube. But he's shocked. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be like they're changing an incentive from, 180 RMB to 200 RMB. He's like, ah! Like you just saw a ghost or something. Anyway, I love Mr. P. But so you have this guy, he's not only meeting with the Chinese president, the government obviously set up the meeting between and the whole investment, the whole, CVYN owning 20% of Nio. Now they're meeting with presidents of UAE and Egypt. They've got, struck a deal with the national telecoms company, because if you really think about what Nio is, it's not just a car. It's not like some other EV company or gas company. Gas company, to go into another country, you don't really do anything. Almost every country, Toyota Hilux is around or whatever, some diesel. And most countries, you'll have some electricity. You'll have some infrastructure. So gas, you hope you have gas stations to show up. But think about what gas stations involve. First, you have to truck the gas there. You got to have a pipeline. You got to have holding tanks. You got to have pumps. You got to have electricity just to run the gas station. I mean, it may not be a huge amount of electricity, but then any other EV besides Nio, you have to have an extensively developed power and charging grid to make the whole thing work. Or else the mustard's off the hot dog. It's all sizzle and no steak. With Nio, you import an entire ecosystem with the swap. And if you think about enough swap stations, enough battery capacity, that's all it is. You can have all kinds of different batteries in there to do different things, different, whether it's Onvo, Firefly. I don't know. I haven't got actual confirmation that Firefly is going to be its own network. I know William Lee said that, but it seemed like they might have backtracked on that a little bit. But it's really hard to get answers from, investor relations that provide any clarity. But I'm going to keep trying. If any of you guys know the answer on that one, hey, not a lurker. I didn't want to catch you up, man. I'm sorry. Apologies once again to Mrs. Lurker. Appreciate you jumping in there, J Money. It's Jesus of Valenzuela. Nio's the only smart EV option to buy. Those other brands are no good. Yeah, we want battery swap. I mean, Jesus, I will tell you, Tesla makes a very good vehicle. If you look at the new Model 3, the 0% interest, the cost you can get that thing at, I mean, like a single motor, you're talking, 30 grand in the high 30s. It's competitive with like a Camry. I think Tesla makes a great car. I'm not, trying to trash other companies, but I think Nio has a compelling, unique selling point, and that's what I'm talking about with the ecosystem. They land in a less developed country. You could essentially have enough Nio swaps with enough solar arrays charging those Nio swaps, and you can basically have a mini power grid, self-contained, or at least those assisting greatly in the function of the power grid. Because let's be honest, a lot of developing places in the world, I mean, not trees, your lazy ass can't get your down to the Winn-Dixie, can get your ass down to the Winn-Dixie or the Five and Dime. I mean, in a lot of places, they're just looking to charge their cell phones, maybe run a satellite dish or a TV. So it's not like the capacity needs are the same per household in a developing country or certain parts of the world. They might be, here in the United States or Western Europe or, major cities anywhere around the world that are very developed. You guys know what I mean. I mean, a couple of Nio power swap stations can power an awful lot in the developing world. So it's just something to consider. A lot of places, the power grid is very, very patchy, very unreliable. Just being able to stabilize the grid for, peak times, different needs, special events. I mean, someone brilliant was talking in my comments last time about, bringing mobile battery swap. Well, think about just an 18-wheeler. I mean, you could fit a lot of batteries in one. You truck in a battery swap, truck in a truckload full of batteries. Think about the capacity you're going to have with hundreds of Nio battery packs powering, special events. These things, could easily replace large diesel generators. It just makes a ton of sense. But what I'm talking about with the ecosystem, okay, you bring this in anywhere along the highways developing, power it by solar. you basically can be completely self-contained. Now, yes, you are going to need access to the internet, but think about their the cousin to their competitors, Tesla, SpaceX. I mean, you could be using, their internet. It's not that expensive. So you can get these power swap stations online. And I know there's other competing satellite internet services, but it's not impossible. So you have solar, you have satellite internet, you can put one of these things anywhere and you have a self-contained mini power grid. But the good thing is it's dual purpose. It's not like a mega pack where you just have to sit the thing and it only does one thing. It's also powering the transportation needs of the community. So I think China has this thing they do. They go to less developed countries, they give them these loans, they get them hooked on their credit, they have all these big projects going on, and they basically become indebted to them, ingrained in their system. It's kind of their, patronage system where they basically get less developed countries hooked on their debt. They're perennially in debt. I think, Nio might be part of that inroad. It's just pushing the Chinese brand further and further, the tentacles further and further into the developing world. Now, think about this, guys. Think about this. People are like, well, they just want to control the swap standard. They don't want to just control the swap standard in China. They want it all. It's like Tony Montana. They want the whole world. The world is mine. Chinese, they think they play a long game. Trust Uncle Dan the Raider fan. Trust little Danny Cornbread DiCarlo. Trust DJ Patchy Drizzle. Trust the analysis of a stock Karen. Just because she cuts her hair real short and drives a minivan, even though she only has one kid. Kid plays sports. I need a Chevy Suburban. I got a 6-year-old in soccer. Couldn't possibly fit in a large sedan or a mid-size SUV. Got to get the kid down to soccer practice. Need something that'll tow, 9, 10,000, 12,000 pounds. Are you with me? Hello? Is this thing on? Anyway, guys, so my point is, I really, 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 really see this as a layup 2x. What people are like, okay, it's risky because it's Chinese, because there's a lot of competition, it could go out of business. I don't think so. I think the Chinese state is very logical. They play the long game. They invest appropriately in manufacturing. Is the Chinese government at different levels, where it's Anhui province, the national government, different provincial governments, the ones that invested in this latest cash raise with Nio's Chinese subsidiary, the levels of the government that are telling, UAE and Egypt to boost Nio because we're going to not be able to expand into Europe right now, so we need these other routes for expansion. And by the way, it guarantees a quicker route to profitability if you have, sovereign wealth funds, other governments, your own government, your state government, your provincial government funding Nio at a lower cost. It's basically a subsidy right out in the open. But same, Tesla got a lot of subsidies. All new industries in different countries, whether it be Europe or whatever, they get a lot of subsidies. And China decided it was in its best interest to accelerate the development of EV and become a world leader in that sector. And that's what they're doing. And other countries, you either lead, follow, or get out of the way, as the old saying goes. I think that was like a work boots commercial. I can't remember. Can't remember what product slogan that was. But it's really the truth. You either innovate, you copy, and you do it really quickly and do it better, or you're going to be left behind. And that's what these brands are figuring out. Mercedes and BMW, they're starting to offer some decent EVs. The American companies outside of Tesla, I'm just not seeing it. You look at valuations. Rivian To me, I know they're saying they have this smaller cars coming out and it's going to be a game changer, but I mean, they lose $35,000 for every vehicle they sell. I mean, Lucid is absurd. The economics of that company just don't make any sense at all. Not so with Nio. I mean, when I'm talking about how loose William Li is, his mannerisms, like if you see like Jack Ma or the CEO of Xpeng or almost any other Chinese executive I've seen being interviewed, giving a speech, it's very sort of canned. It's very nervous. It's very stiff. Like if you look at William Li's mannerisms with the speech at like Harvard, how he's talking, the speech in China, he's speaking very openly about topics and concepts that most people don't seem to feel at liberty to speak about quite as openly as he does. I don't know why that is. I'm not saying he's necessarily part of the government, but from everything I can see, Nio is very, very closely aligned domestically, internationally, at every which way, at every level with the Chinese state. And they're clearly pushing an agenda. And I think getting Nio, profitable, growing, giving them favorable ways to grow. In the speech that Mr. P was talking about, William Li was saying, even when we were very close to bankruptcy and things weren't going well, we knew we had the backing of different levels of the government that allowed us to continue to aggressively invest in our infrastructure development. No other company could have done that. They would have had to pull back. But China is pushing this because they want to control the swap standard, because that is going to have control of the battery standard. Because I think swap is going to make sense throughout so much of the world. And it makes sense for a completely different reason in overdeveloped parts of the world, where people live in high rises, where the grid does not have capacity to service, hundreds of thousands of vehicles all at once at rush hour. So swap is whatever you want it to be depending on your needs. It's going to be, these swap stations are going to be very versatile. They're going to be very helpful. How does a fixed battery gas vehicle really help the government? Taking from the grid. It's taking from the grid. It doesn't help, it doesn't help the grid. It doesn't put anything back. It doesn't stabilize the grid. Now I know, they can do this in the context of plugging the individual vehicles into their, home charger, and that can interface. And that will be developed, to be sure. I'm not saying that's not possible just because you have a fixed battery. But it sure is a hell of a lot easier, more efficient, more effective with battery swap stations, in my opinion. If you look at where this is going, guys, it's tried to break out here numerous times. Above this line, we have kind of this golden cross. Last time it failed miserably here. You had the pump and dump, sort of even steeper, and it tried to consolidate, failed, gap down, and sort of the poop cross. This is a golden cross, this is a poop cross. And then works its way back down, flattens out. It's basically reaching what I would say is like absolute zero, where the wedge is down here. I mean, if it's going to break through the downside of this wedge, you're going to be at $2. It's going to be game over. I mean, the lows here are 380. But it's catching some support here where it needed to, and it's back up closing here. So it's still in that kind of critical level where it's been hanging out this entire year, besides this one pump and dump that we've experienced the last couple of weeks. Stock wanted to go back up here, but it's just really flirting with this line. Algo, the algo came in and it's just pushed down hard here. But if you look at this, guys, you'll see this is the most buying pressure that's been in the stock in years right here. This is aggressive accumulation. Filings did not look good for Q2, but deliveries did not look good for Q2. You see a rapid upswing, the last few months. Nio's doing the hard work behind the scenes, guys. Battery swap network completes its initial coverage, 9 major horizontal highways in China. What's up? We got TJ the Wheel Deal in the house. We have all types of celebrities here in the broadcast. Let's see, TJ the Wheel Deal, 1,200 long calls, 1,000 cash secured puts. This guy's throwing money around like a drunken sailor on leave. $5 for January 2026. Will you PMCC on your long calls? You guys are talking to each other. We got Dale Feller, son of the late great Hall of Fame pitcher Bob Feller. Thanks for joining us. Celebrities abound. We got Baz Rutten VO. Nio will reach all-time highs, $60 in 3 years. I don't know, man. That's a tall order. That would be more than a 10x in 3 years. This ain't Domino's Pizza, man. But we'll see. Riot down a bit today. Time for catch. God, Riot. Jared Jenkins. What's up, Jared Jenkins? JJ Dynamite. We got, of course, the great, as we said, the great TJ the Wheel Deal. Yeah, I'm I got people are very sick of hearing me, TJ, blabbering on about SoFi. I mean, I made so much money on that stock the last little while. It's just absurd. But people don't take me serial because I'm chunky. And I'm wearing a captain's hat for no particular reason. But how often do you find a captain's hat with a Raider logo and your moniker is Uncle Dan the Raider fan, a.k.a. Little Danny Cornbread DiCarlo? You crumble under pressure. That's why we call you cornbread. Deadliest Catch Chris will tell you. I'm no good. Stacking pots. I'm hiding down in the chow hall, eating the leftovers from last night's supper. These guys are out stacking pots. It's like, where's cornbread? He's down the mess hall, taking care of last night's leftovers, cleaning up, if you know what I mean. No, guys, that's not true. I'm not a shirker. Not a shirker. I might be a lurker, but I'm not a shirker. Yes, Captain Danny in the house. We got barbecue here. How'd you know I love barbecue? Did you throw that name together just for me? They should go private and use their overpriced engineers for custom deals. Lucid, oh my God, Lucid is hot garbage. And they have some great engineering. I mean, their drive units are incredible. That gravity looks beautiful. But how are they ever going to get the thing off the ground? I mean, they don't move any units. That's what I mean by an ecosystem. Tesla moves cars. They have an ecosystem. They have superchargers. It's critical. Nio is a charging leader in China. It's not just swap. Somebody was mentioning in the comments, well, you have to do swap. You can't own your own battery. And that's absolutely not true. You can purchase the car with the battery and never swap that a day in your life. I don't think it makes a lot of sense to me, but if you wanted to do that and you were somebody who drove all the time and wanted to take care of your own battery, drove a lot, you could absolutely do that and just charge. Nio has, like I said, one of the biggest charging networks in China. Destination charging piles, regular charging piles. Ugh, piles of dump. Anyway, so this is an interesting one. Nio battery swap completes initial coverage. So Nio sets these goals, guys, over time. I don't know if you guys are getting those commercials. My apologies. Anyway, so Nio battery completes initial coverage 9 major horizontal highways in China. So Nio said its battery swap network completed, achieving part of a goal announced 2 years ago. Completion of network's coverage of the G80 Zhengzhou Kunming Highway, as well as the Xinjiang and Hunan sections of the Hangzhou Wuli Highway. Nio's battery swap stations have achieved coverage of 9 horizontal highways, 7 vertical highways, and 12 urban centers. And guys, if you're chunky, you want to try to wear vertical highways. They're very, very slimming. So I always drive north to south because I feel thinner. When I have on horizontal highways, I feel, like the camera's adding a few extra stripes, if you know what I mean. Like EL fudge stripes, those little cookies with the look shaped like gnomes that had the striped fudge on. Those were good. I miss those. I don't know if they have those anymore. But I'm on a program where I'm not eating entire sleeve, crying myself. As of today, Nio has 2,609 battery swap stations in China. 871 are located along highway. So in 2002, and this is just the reason I'm telling the story is because it says how Nio follows up on their timelines, on their vehicle releases, on their projects, on their expansion. And don't give up on Nio in Europe. Don't do it. Don't write them off. Do so at your own peril. On July 6, 2022, Nio said the second, so this is over 2 years ago, second power day, it would build a battery swap network by 2025, covering 9 vertical highways, 9 horizontal highways, and 19 urban clusters in China. August this year, they renamed it Power Up, blah, blah, blah. 2,300, having coverage more than 2,300 counties by the end of 2025. In 27 provincial administrative regions. That's a hell of a lot of administrative regions. I don't know how you administer all those regions. Nio will push ahead with its construction of battery swap stations along highways and continue to work toward its goal of completing a battery swap network covering 9 vertical highways. The company hoped to add, so they're not going to get the 1,000 stations this year. They've only done about 300, so they're probably at the very most add, 400 or 500, but that's okay. I mean, every year cannot be just, blindless, drunken capex, like the world is going to end tomorrow. You have to balance guns and butter. You have to do, again, the same thing Noto did. You have to balance enough profit, enough fiscal returns to make Wall Street happy, keep the stock at a reasonable price until you can reach that critical mass, start to scale, hit the inflection point of your EPS curve, and basically kick the market right in its testicles, as the old saying goes. So EV makers seems to be focused more on adding available battery swap stations for the Onvo sub-brand. It was actually really good news. The number of swap stations increased by 71, including 18 fourth gen and 53 retrofitted third gen. So this is the Onvo network. It's actually coming along very nicely. I believe they said it was already almost 1,000 stations that Onvo is able to use. So I don't know I can't remember where I saw the absolute number, but in any case, really good news. And then if you take a look at expectations, guys, this guy at Deutsche Bank, he's been really accurate with the delivery predictions over time. So he's predicting 24,500. Which would be way up here, which would obviously be an all-time record for Nio. So with China's major electrical vehicles makers set to release their delivery sales figures October on Friday, Deutsche Bank shared their forecasts as done in the past. Research note, analyst Wang Bin's team expect the major EV. I had a Wang Bin at one. No, I can't. I don't want to do that bit. The team forecasts Nio to deliver about 24,500 units in the full month of October, its highest monthly delivery since inception, up 53% year on year and 16% sequentially. And remember, these have been pretty strong, months that Nio's been turning in the last 4 months or so. In the first 4 weeks of October, Nio's domestic retail sales totaled 20,500 units. Based on the dealer feedback, new order flow for Nio brand is estimated to be around 19,000 units. New orders for the sub-brand Onvo is estimated to be around 15,000 units on October. So very, very, coming in for Onvo, but other companies are seeing September deliveries in October expect to reach about 3,600 units. And this is what I'm talking about with the ramp. So monthly production capacity will increase from 5,000 units October to 10,000 units in December. So they're going to double their production capacity in only 2 months, and then 16,000, 20,000 units by March 2025. So they double in 2 months and then double that again in only 4 months. So in 6 months, they 4x their production capacity. 6 months from now, they'll be on a pace to build 250,000 just Onvo units. So, 6 months from now, Nio could easily be on pace to be selling 600,000 or 700,000 cars a year. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's very feasible. Quite feasible. Would that be feasible at this juncture? Not at this juncture, but perhaps in 6 months, perhaps at that juncture. At a future juncture, it could perhaps be feasible. So Nio delivered 21,181 vehicles in September, marking the 5th consecutive month of deliveries above the 20,000 mark. including 20,349 for Nio main brand, 832 for Onvo. Deutsche Bank expected Xpeng deliver 23,000, up 15% year on year and 8% sequentially. And then goes into Xpeng and Li, and you can certainly read all that. Li's not even EV, by the way. I mean, as soon as the government doesn't need Li anymore for this transitionary period, unless they evolve quickly, they're going to get dropped like a cheap suit. I mean, this is what I'm saying with having no footprint, having no USP, having no panache, having no je ne sais quoi. Like if you're Li, okay, you make these hybrid, shit boxes or whatever. Now, I'm sure they're great. But you make these shit boxes, and what do? You charge them at the Nio network, or you charge them at the Tesla network. I mean, I know they have a few chargers, some little pathetic, peanut store network. But Nio is building an entire company that will stand the test of time. Not this little, rinky-dink operation where they're just trying to move units. If all you're trying to do is pump your stock and pump your deliveries, you're going to operate like a Li, where you have one or two models and you just build as many as you can, sell them for the cheapest price you can, and be done with it. But is that building an enduring, sustainable company? Where's your recurring revenue? Where's your ecosystem? Where's the incentive for people to stay with that brand? Where's the innovation? I don't mean to pick on Li. Well, okay, I kind of do. But I just don't know where it is. Not right now. Wheeling SoFi. Let's see, guys. Any new comments down here? Let's see. Rodolfo Araya. Hey, Rodolfo. How are you today? Nah, buy SoFi. I was pumping. Yeah, I know. I covered calls at 8, January 26th. I'm going to start long calls around November next year, rolling out covered calls. Interesting. Guys, if you want to, you always say, why don't I talk about options and all these strategies? If you see the guy, TJ the Wheel Deal, down in the comments, he's one of the experts. So go to people who know, kind of do these strategies for a living. That ain't me, guys. It ain't me, babe. It ain't me you're looking for. I'm not the options expert. Yep. When do you think Nio will achieve GAAP profitability? Everybody's saying 2027. I actually think they will achieve their first quarter of GAAP profitability late 2025, early 2026. The reason I say that is because I don't think people at all understand the swap business. Like I said, for every 20,000 vehicles they add every month, they're adding over 1 million swaps per year. So vehicle deliveries are growing nicely in an upward linear direction, where swaps are going to be growing exponentially. And when you start to deliver 25,000, 50,000, 60,000, eventually, 100,000, if you deliver 100,000 cars in 1 month, you're delivering 5 million swaps a year, or however many swaps over the useful lifetime of the car. And almost all Nio owners love swap. They all swap. Every Nio vehicle ever made swaps more than once a week on average. Nio proved the concept. Nio basically had huge balls to go in with this strategy a decade ago. And the government saw the value in it, bailed them out, said, hey, keep doing your work. Even though the economics don't look great right now, we believe in what you're doing because we want to dominate the swap standard, the battery standard. This makes so much sense for us in a utility sense, as a society, environment, et cetera, et cetera. You get more life out of the batteries, more efficient use. It just takes away almost all of the negative, objections about batteries and EV. And that's why they're building these things along all the highways, because it eliminates one of the biggest ones, which is range anxiety. We have all the major highways in the entire country covered. Goes a long way toward eliminating that anxiety, because, with these battery packs, you can go off the highway quite a bit. It's not like you're going to run out of juice immediately with a full battery. Definitely go do some exploring for the day and get back to the swap station, no problem. Why does this thing make so much more sense than gas? I mean, this only costs a couple $100,000 to put one of these things in. It's just flat ground. All you really need is power and a little pad. I've seen the construction. It's not that complicated. Gas station, it costs like $1 million just to reline the goddamn storage tanks. I know a lot of these countries don't have the same environmental regulations as the United States, but I just put in a gas station. All you have to somehow truck in gas. You have to have the holding tanks, the pumps, the pipes. It's cost millions of dollars to build a gas station. It's dinosaur technology. It's Dino time. Well, Ma, just doesn't make any sense. The arguments against this company don't make any sense. It's not going bankrupt. The margins are coming back up. Listen, like I said, by the end of March, they could be moving 60,000 or more units. And then you have Firefly coming on board. To me, if all goes to plan, by the end of 2025, you'll be selling 100,000 cars a month. In a perfect world. I mean, I don't know if that's actually going to happen. All right, guys. This broadcast. Hey, Rudolfo, thanks for watching, man. How many batteries are stored? TJ, because the older generations, I think now it's up to like 18, and then the next one's going to be 40. I think it's going to mix, capacities for Onvo with capacities for Nio, which is kind of problematic. I think they're working all that out right now, but check out CNEV post. It describes, or even Nio's site, I think Nio Power, it describes the difference between the fourth. They keep making a lot of improvements in the generations of these swap stations. So only the Gen 4 swap station and the modified retrofitted Gen 3 stations are going to work with Onvo. And if memory serves, I believe that was 871 units out of 2,603 that are currently in existence. And that's changing all the time because, like I said, they just brought, 8 new units or whatever online this week. So the point is, TJ, CATL, which is a leading battery company in the world, just announced recently that they're going to aggressively build out a battery swap network. They plan to build 10,000 battery swaps by 2030. Now, does that not completely validate all the work that Nio's been doing for the last 10 years? The taxi cabs in the big cities in China are already swapping on these rudimentary battery swaps. People who get it, people who work for a living, people whose time is money, people who can't afford to fuck around, they're already choosing swap. Chinese government is encouraging, agencies to go with Nio. I mean, this makes so much sense for services, municipalities, deliveries. It doesn't matter. There's absolutely no reason they can't build a light last mile delivery vehicle on this exact same platform. Easy peasy. Build a little Ford Transit style minivan. It's a no-brainer. Small battery pack, light battery pack, efficient. You swap that thing in 3-4 minutes. Done deal. Done and dusted. No chips in my hands, sir. Thank you. Anyway, guys, this has probably been one of the worst shows I've done. If you have a small solar farm next to a couple of swap stations, even out in the middle of nowhere, as long as you have internet, as long as you can move data so these things can communicate and they know when do we need to bring more batteries, when they're less battery, whatever it is, just so it can work with the software as part of the grid. And then they're also going to contract with the government telecoms company or the telecoms giant in the area. So it's an entire infrastructure that Nio brings in, sets up shop. It'll ingrain itself as part of the local community right away. And also become a partner of the government, partner of the power grid, partner of the utility companies right away. I think this company is something very, very special, unique. A lot of other companies, not just Tesla, not just others, but they said, hey, this isn't a good idea. This is not feasible. This is just too much engineering. It's too many variables. There's too many reasons it won't work. And Nio, said, yes, it will work. And there's a place for it. And it could be very important. And it could be superior. It could be a better mousetrap. And I think they've definitely proven the concept and then some. And now once you have all these other nameplates in the battery swap alliance, they're going to start building battery swap cars. If you see a mandate from the government at any level for swap, rocket ship emoji time, guys. Rocket ship emoji. Guys, hey, thanks, TJ, man. I really appreciate you joining me. Some of you, these guys, I mean, these guys are U-turd royalty. These guys like TJ are accepted by the Canadian fin-turd mafia who run this entire thing. There's a few guys and they run the entire thing. Okay? They're pasty Canadians and they like to travel. They have sponsors. They meet with CEOs. I talk to my dog. Okay? So that's the level I'm operating at. So no, seriously, I'm not actually being facetious. Like TJ really knows his stuff with the option strategies. A lot of guys talk about him. I personally might listen. I don't know. I've got nothing against the great Uncle Bruce, but I trust young bald people or people with shaved heads. That's why I have a soft spot in my heart for Not a Lurker. Anybody with that beautiful, large, prominent shaved head. They're just a couple of gold chains. I don't know. I don't want to cast any aspersions, but I'm guessing TJ might have a healthy bed of chest hair there. A couple of buttons down. I'm speculating. I'm wildly speculating here. Maybe a nice speedboat. I don't know. No, TJ's actually a nice guy. I was on the one of the SoFi Weekly or whatever it was broadcast with him. So I've had the opportunity to rub elbows. You turds wouldn't know what that's like. Rub elbows with fin-turd royalty. The great Tevis. Tanner. Teaching courses, leading teams, displaying chest hair and discos, buying speedboats. And here I am, barely able to afford tap water. Oh, just grinding, folks. What you want to do, grinding. Anyway, guys, this episode jumped the shark more than when Fonzie jumped the motorcycle. It's been a big steaming pile, but I certainly hope you've enjoyed it. Like, couldn't send soup back in this hat. Like, oh, but it looks good on you, Judge. Anyway, so guys, hope everybody has a great night. I really think Nio's an easy double, and I don't think it's going to take that long. I think the margins will continue to improve. They will continue to scale. What I'm saying is this company can't go out of business. The Chinese, I got stuck on a 40-minute sidebar here. We got sidetracked mentally for 40 minutes. What can you do? But what I'm saying is there's no way this is going bankrupt. There's no way it's going out of business. There's no way it's being swallowed up unless it's by another company at a huge premium. A company like, CATL or something. They say, hey, the government comes to CATL and says, hey, they've already invested billions of dollars, not only the swaps, but the engineering, the standard, the software, the power control, the charging, the interface with the grid. It's already been worked on for 10 years. We're not going to have you guys duplicate that out to 2030. We're not stupid, just dupe it. I don't know what people aren't seeing. I don't know, they just price this thing like Lee with deliveries, or like they're competing, directly against BYD, making these, like they don't have a unique selling point. It's like swap doesn't exist, or people think it's some kind of, boondoggle novelty liability, like the fucking bullet train to Merced. Has anyone ever said the word, I need to get to Merced immediately? It's life and death. I need a fucking bullet train up to a fucking cornfield out in the middle of nowhere. And by the way, it's going to cost you like $500 billion. Get out your checkbook and bend over, sucker. It's like being a taxpayer in this state. God damn, a California income tax. I mean, you know me, guys. I'm not one to Karen. But the California income tax, you feel like you have dual residency in another country. You're like, in my state return. Coming to meet you, Wheezy. You're just about to have an infarction Because you're like, is this a secondary federal return? Has there been an error? Is this decimal in the wrong place? WTF? TTFN? I mean, I don't know if you guys live in California and make a little bit. I don't make that much. It's, you don't have to make that much. They'd still just ream you. Call it the old Gavin. Call it the old Gavin. Bend you over a barrel and give you a nice tour of the 50 states every April, October. And what's the deal with estimated taxes? Like, I estimate that I don't want to pay them. My estimate is 0. It's like, what are your estimated taxes? Well, I estimate that I'm going to be paying a penalty yet again. Why don't you figure that out for me and send me a friendly letter? I'll fire you off a nice personal check. Fuck. Fuck me in the goat ass. Anyway, love him on Billions. You guys, I hate it when I glance down at the comments and I have no idea what's going on. Really enjoyed that John Adams, Paul Giamatti. Yeah, I love Paul Giamatti. Lincoln Lawyer season 3. Oh God, don't you Lincoln Lawyer? Oh my gosh, I love that movie. Is so bad. It's Matthew McConaughey. So we gotta just pop our shirts off. Might be a little bit more fun. We'll do the courtroom scene shirtless. I think my abs are popping right now. What he said, just do like a sport jacket and a tie and just let the abs fly. What do you think? Doesn't read for you? All right. No, I can't really do a McConaughey. Who can? Everybody tries, but nobody can really capture the essence, if there is one. Anyway, guys, looks like you guys are having fun. We got Michael Anthony here. You are my hero. Is that a Bobby Hill? I can't see. Is that a Bobby Hill? I love King of the Hill, guys. Love me some King of the Hill. Watch any movie. Yeah, Paul Giamatti's a great actor. No question about it. I love in the Howard Stern movie. It's like, so we're going to practice how you say it. It's like, WNBC. It's one of the first things I've ever seen. Old movie, good one too. You think, confidence. I've seen that. You think shares are down because China data has been bad, or why is shares down? No, I think it's just mechanics. We're just borrowing the stock, controlling the price through high frequency fixed trading. This is a retail-owned stock, Michael. So for the shares to be down based on a sell-off, you have to believe that retail is dumping at 550. They're not. This is a complete fugazi. I'll tell you something that you guys might not notice, and maybe you think I'm crazy, and that's fine. It doesn't really show as well on this graph because it's just, I've looked at it on some other graphs, it just shows up better. But if you look at the dailies on these days where, we're down 4.6%, if you go through this, the majority of the candles are green. And I promise you this is accumulation. This is not institutions dumping. It's just a flat line. It's a huge order here, like 1.5 million or whatever shares or something. And then Algo just bit hard right back down. Sold it back off. It obviously wanted to be at this line today. 535 or whatever. So I don't know why they do what they do. I just know this is going up and it's going to face rip. And I really think this stock $15 next year or some point. I mean, think about it. If they ramp deliveries from below 10,000 now to 20,000, they get to 50,000 by March, 75,000 or whatever it is a month by the end of the year. Now, these could be rosy predictions. I'm not saying they're not, but they're certainly possible. So if they 4x deliveries, should they 4x the stock price? I don't know, maybe at least a 2x. I think it's logical if the margins are getting better. Fireflies come. Their partner CVYN, they just bought, what was it, one of the supercar companies from another sovereign wealth fund. I forget exactly what it was. Current Exec or something. Oh, McLaren. I'm sorry. By McLaren's auto business. So Nio hiring senior talent in China to expand Middle East team. This is kind of an interesting report because I think the Middle East is going to become a really, really key market for Nio. Nio is reportedly hiring senior talent in China for its team in the Middle East, with vehicle deliveries are expected to begin again this year. Shanghai-based Nio recently. So they're hiring high level executives. Nio is looking to recruit talent in areas including vehicle manufacturing, core electrical systems, smart cockpits, smart driving. According to the report, Nio is offering a salary that's essentially the same as a level 5 employee at home, but with a smaller remit than at home. Said, of course, and I don't know if that's taxes. I guess that is. Recruiting the right talent is not easy. Candidates need to work overseas for long periods of time. In response to the report, Nio's source said the company's Middle East and North Africa team and the local UAE team are already established and expanding, according to 21 Jingji. On October 5, Nio announced the formation of Nio MENA with its Middle East backer, Abu Dhabi-based CYVN Holdings, a partnership that marks Nio's entry into the MENA market. The UAE has been selected as the initial market for Nio MENA, and Nio CYVN plan to establish a research and development center in Abu Dhabi that will focus on autonomous driving and artificial intelligence. The company also planned to jointly develop an all-new model for the local market with CVYN. So they're going to begin deliveries in UAE this quarter, offering its full system of services companies in the MENA region. Latest hire is for the Abu Dhabi R&D Center. According to the report, the new model, Nio is responsible for the product definition and innovation of the car, as well as adapting the hardware and software onboard requirements. Middle Eastern backer, of course, close to the Nio ES8, which locally becomes the EL8, is already available for booking the UAE with starting price UAE dirhams 359,900 or just under 100,000 US dollars. So you guys can read the rest of this, but just so many exciting things happening with Nio. I like how they're just able to pivot with the assistance of the government from Europe right to the Mideast. You don't have any red tape there, guys. Chinese government says, hey, guys, jump, how high, get these guys in here, get these guys building swaps, get these guys going. Going to happen this year. They just announced it a couple months ago, already going to start selling cars by the end of the year. It's something that would take other companies years and years to do because they don't have the full backing goddamn Chinese state. I don't know who doesn't see it, guys. You're going to see it. Like, the market's not acknowledging it. I think they're starting to see it. They just want to beat the hell out of the stock, buy it as cheap as they can, and then they're going to turn and they're going to run. That's up to you. Anyway, appreciate you watching Unpoco Moss. Thank you very, very much. Not a lurker. Appreciate you being here. Thank you very, very much for joining us today, TJ the Wheel Deal. Once again, guys, get over, click on TJ's channel and then watch him for some of those option strategies that I feebly try to explain from time to time. But if you hear guys like, hey, don't worry, I'm just going to roll maps. This is what they're talking about with a wheel strategy, where you kind of get into one option, and then depending on what happens, it's like a choose your own adventure. You go one way or the other with it. You're assigned, you sell, you roll, you change your position, you change your time duration. It's just a whole thing. And if you're broke AF, you can do a poor man's covered call. There's actually, you don't need a ton of money to, get into the options game. 100 shares of something. Anybody can afford 100 shares of something. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. This show's going nowhere fast. Appreciate you. Peace. I'm out.